One of the greatest blessings I had after knowing Christ is walking with my Messianic friend, brothers and sisters since the earliest days. And one of these blessings is when we really unite, God starts speaking. And according to Psalm 105, the Word of God heals and gives us keys for our nations to bring healings as well, after we receive it ourselves. So whenever we meet together, somehow God speaks to me in a very special way. That actually, Ishmael is Sarah's son. It's not Hagar's son. Something went wrong, and we don't know exactly. The rabbis have many opinions of what happened really between, Ishmael and Isaac. Obviously, from the text, we conclude that God has had to let Isaac grow without Ishmael there in order to fulfill his calling. But I believe that wasn't God's plan. God's plan was like that they would grow together. One of the lawsuits in ancient Assyria says this: if a woman doesn't bear a child for her husband within the first 2 years, she has to buy a slave girl and give her to her husband, and the child will be hers. She can keep the slave girl or let her go, but the child is hers. Wow. And that's why we see the pattern with Jacob and Abraham only. It doesn't repeat itself because these stories are contemporary to the time period of Hammurabi's law. Lu Ishmael yichye lefanecha, may Ishmael live before you. Is that first, this request is a unique request. It was not normal according to the time period of these scriptures, because all what was happening around these scriptures was God bless. He met with Abraham in Genesis 12, I will bless you. Then he promised him again in 15, I bless you. Jacob wrestled with the angel of the Lord, bless me. So what is this? What does it mean? Let Ishmael live before you. And if you look at if you listen to God's response is very strange. He doesn't address this issue. First he says that, I will, make my covenant with Isaac, and it will be an everlasting covenant. But I will bless Ishmael. He didn't say I will let him live. He again spoke about blessing, and then he repeated himself again. But the covenant, it will be with Isaac. Then one of the things that I knew, but this brought it more to light for me, is that God has order in his kingdom. And God was looking at this request in a prophetic sense. Life, everlasting life. You want Ishmael to live everlasting life? You have to acknowledge my election. So election. You have to acknowledge my election. I have to make my covenant with Isaac, so that the Messiah would come and bring salvation to Ishmael, and then he will live really everlasting life. There is order, and somehow when Jews, speak, you say it's okay. They say beseder. There is spiritual foundations in this word. It's spiritually God works within an order. It's not first meaning better. It's order. So this is one of the keys.
Pastor,
that
I just want to
Lord showed me.
I just want to get this straight here. This is incredible. Every time he speaks to me, he drops revelations like that. It's really awesome. But what you're saying is, I'm thinking about this in our relationship. My crying out, Lu Ishmael yichye lefanecha. I'm crying out for the Arabs to be saved. I'm bringing that to the table with you, And you're saying to me, Usher, no. When Abraham prayed that, God said, I can't answer that prayer. First, you have to recognize that Isaac is the chosen son.
Wow. That's it. So that's my prayer, that we as an Arab church start to understand that it's not someone that is better than the other. Of course, I can talk about Galatians 4, where God flips the thing. And he refers to Hagar twice and Ishmael as the foundation of the freedom and the eternal salvation. But my prayer to my church, because we are so much immersed into, a replacement theology and that when we acknowledge God's order, then we are aligned with the kingdom and we are letting God work in our lives and our churches freely.